Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from The Federalist dated April 17th, and the headline is something that you're pretty much going to go duh about, and it's Joe Biden, not Trump, is responsible for creating constant chaos. I haven't read this article yet. I think it's going to be pretty long. It does say it's a 10-minute read here, so strap yourselves in and perfect picture for this. Miss me yet? Yes, we do, Donald. Yes, we do. So the subheadline says, we've been repeatedly told the problem with Trump is that his administration was nonstop chaos, but you have to be an ignoramus or a journalist to believe that political affairs under Biden haven't become far more chaotic. Not cutting that cough out. So let's just dive right on in. So at the end of last year, when everyone was still going through the motions of pretending Nikki Haley was running a viable campaign against Trump, I noted she was making, in my humble opinion, this is the author, not me, Jason, this is the absolute worst argument that could be made against her supposed rival. Some version of the following remark became a fixture in her stump speeches for the next few months until she inevitably dropped out. And the truth of it all, and this is another hard truth, I believe President Trump was the right president at the right time. I was proud to serve America in his administration, and I agree with a lot of his policies. But the truth is, rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him, said Haley. You know I'm right. Chaos follows him. We have too much division in this country and too many threats around the world to be sitting in chaos once again. This was a repulsive and dishonest observation coming from an ostensible Republican. The vast majority of chaos surrounding Trump's presidency came from a never-ending barrage of wildly disingenuous media coverage surrounding manufactured scandals such as the Russia collusion hoax. And I've done myself a number of videos where I've pointed out the fact that or it's specifically from John Nolte at Breitbart. You can go look it up where he has just a list of all the hoaxes that have happened, such as the Russia collusion hoax that's on the list. And I think his list is up to 27 or 28, and just since 2016. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of them. So it says further, if by some incredible turn of events Haley did somehow become the Republican nominee, the same cabal of media and deep state operatives that smeared Trump and even accused milquetoast Mitt Romney of being a dog-abusing, gay-bashing felon who gave people cancer would no doubt turn on a dime to fortify any presidential election in which Haley was the nominee by lying about her too. I heard about the Mitt Romney thing, the dog-abusing thing, the gay-bashing felon, and the gave people cancer? I don't know anything about that. Maybe after I'm done, I'll click on this link and see what it says. What does it say there? Oh, it's from the Washington Post. I'd rather not click on that link because I don't want to get cancer from reading it because it's the goddamn Washington Post. So let's keep going with our article here. It says, in any event, as news broke that Iran was launching a barrage of missiles at Israel this past weekend, one might reach the conclusion that, yes, presidents who create actual chaos are a bad thing. The problem is that America's political class has its head so sunk into its posterior, it can't begin to be honest about what real chaos looks like. As one of the more inclusive pseudonymous X accounts observed over the weekend, what most of the media is referring to when they describe the Trump presidency as chaotic were things like tweets, personnel changes, and Russiagate leaks. Now, the whole world is on fire, and they're still behaving like going back to that would be catastrophic. It would be a lot more preferable to the BS that we have right now, that's for damn sure. It says, with that in mind, let's add some context to the Iranian attack over the weekend. Biden has been eager to continue the Obama-era policy of abandoning our traditional Sunni allies in the Middle East to make Iran the center of power in the region. This meant a questionable deal to make Iran a nuclear power and handing over billions of dollars to the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, which was also responsible for killing a large number of American troops in the Iraq War. The result is that when Israel was shooting down Iran's missiles over the weekend, it was a depressing demonstration of this meme. And yeah, I've seen this a number of times. This is like, basically, I think this is Israel's Iron Dome, and this is the rockets coming from Gaza. So you see my tax dollars, and somehow also my tax dollars. I laugh, but it's not really funny. So, of course, this latest escalation from Iran was just the culmination of the Biden-Obama-era Iran policy. Let's not forget, very early on, Biden removed the Houthis, an Iranian proxy, from the official list of specially designated global terrorist groups, as a sop to Tehran. Before returning them to the list earlier this year, the Houthis were basically allowed to run amok, launching missiles at Israel and wreaking havoc with global shipping routes by launching attacks in the Red Sea. In February, the Houthis attacked and sank a tanker ship, leaving an 18-mile-long oil slick and creating a major environmental catastrophe. Hey, climate alarmists, where are you guys? Aren't you supposed to be protesting stuff like this? Oh, right, because these people are, quote-unquote, on your side, and you're not going to say a damn thing. Plus, they probably didn't even know that this happened. Anyway, it says under Biden, the U.S. Navy, whose major peacetime responsibility is securing global shipping routes, looks feckless to address a bunch of Bush League terrorists. The result is that Americans are paying more for gas and all manner of goods because a huge amount of global shipping is being rerouted around the Horn of Africa for security reasons. In fact, not only is Biden and the Democrat Party's monstrously stupid foreign policy establishment directly responsible for this chaos, we're watching these catastrophes unfold after the Trump administration had made major progress unscrewing the Obama-era Middle East policy. Yes, things were definitely much better under Trump and the Abraham Accords, and now we get, this BS from them because they suck. So it says, when Iran launched its barrage of missiles at Israel, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and other Arab states aided the efforts to shoot the missiles down. It's hard to overstate how unthinkable it would have been a decade or two ago for Israel to be engaged in a war with the Palestinians and these same Arab states to step in to aid Israel and prevent a wider war. It seems the Abraham Accords and Middle East alliances Trump forged are proving surprisingly resilient, despite the Biden administration's best effort to set the region on fire. The best the Biden admin was able to do was send a pathetic message to Iran telling them their attack on Israel must be within certain limits. Yeah, if you didn't hear about that, our administration told the opposition to our actual allies that, oh, hey, yeah, you can attack Israel. You just have to do it make sure nobody gets killed sort of thing. But they gave them permission to fire rockets over, which, you just kind of have to go, wait, what now? This is the thing that actually happened? And the answer to that is, yes, it certainly is. Because, of course, that's not the only region that threatens to start World War III at the moment. The Biden administration seems bound and determined to make sure the Ukraine war is prolonged as long as possible. What's remarkable about the Ukraine war from an American standpoint is that whether you support or oppose the war, everyone honest on both sides agrees that the Biden administration's Ukraine policy is terrible. Well, basically everything they do is terrible. It's not just this, but yeah, their foreign policy is a joke. If you think Ukraine's fading chances mean we should have negotiated a settlement long ago, it's objectively true that the Biden administration failed at deterrence bigly and has needlessly escalated a proxy war with a nuclear power in Europe. If you think this is a war worth fighting to counter Russian aggression, well, the Biden administration has been strategically inept and has failed to make any major domestic push to earn support for funding the war in Congress and beyond. You don't have to be an expert in statecraft to know that, as a general rule, we either try to avoid wars or win them quickly and decisively. In Ukraine, however, the Biden administration has chosen the chaotic middle path between those two options, though chosen implies they had a strategy. I was about to say the George W. Bush strategery thing. So it says, just to start that over, it says, though chosen implies they had a strategy to begin with, rather than being reactionary at every step. Russia invaded when Biden was vice president and again when Biden was president. Trump, the supposed Putin stooge, actually had an effective deterrent strategy. He gave Ukraine lethal military aid, which the Obama-Biden White House had pointedly refused to do, flooded Europe with liquid natural gas exports to suppress Russia's energy profits, and aggressively countered Russian efforts in Syria to send a message. By contrast, the latest major developments regarding Ukraine are pretty indicative of where the White House's head is at. Biden has banned liquid natural gas exports to please his left-wing environmental base, which, as congressional Republicans have noted, is a gift to Russian President Vladimir Putin that will harm our European allies. India has asked Ukraine to stop attacking Russian oil refineries. While bombing refineries may help Ukraine win the war sooner, it's an election year and Biden doesn't want to raise gas prices heading into the summer. He's never had a problem with that before. Why wouldn't he continue to do it now? Well, now maybe it's just me, but this all seems like pretty horrific foreign policy. Yet here's how a recent book by Biden on Biden by Franklin Foer, former New Republic editor and current staff writer at the allegedly illustrious Atlantic, describes Biden's foreign policy leadership. Quote, "It was his calming presence and his strategic clarity that helped lead the alliance to such an aggressive stance, which stymied authoritarianism on its front lines. He was a man for his age." Does that sound like Joe Biden to you? If someone was to tell you that quote without any context whatsoever and say, which president does that describe? Would Joe Biden be, I know it's been, the 46th president? Would he be one of the top 45 that you'd even pick for that? I mean, seriously, would he really be one of the options? And if somebody said, yeah, it's Joe Biden we're talking about, you'd be like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, that's such nonsense there. Anyway, we have yet to discuss the worst inflation in 40 years, up from just 1.4% when Biden took office, more than 10 million illegal border crossers, a massive spike in urban crime, mortgage rates going from 2 to 3% to 7%, more Americans dying of COVID in Biden's first year than died under Trump without the benefit of a supposed vaccine, chronic truancy becoming a permanent epidemic in America's schools thanks to the White House allowing teachers' unions free rein to keep schools closed for upwards of 18 months, the inexcusable penchant for ignoring horrific murders and natural disasters so long as they afflict Trump voters, that's probably about East Palestine, Biden pissing off the families of the Marines killed at the Kabul airport during his disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal by rambling about his own family and checking his watch repeatedly, seeing Biden, whose wife campaigned against Trump by saying decency is on the ballot, then host transgender perverts who flash their fake in every sense boobs on the White House lawn, as well as appoint important public health and nuclear officials who force anyone who has the misfortune of even seeing them to contemplate why the hell their tax dollars pay the salaries of obvious sexual deviants, using the Justice Department as his personal Stasi to go after septuagenarian pro-life activists and traditional Catholics, which is really something when your handpicked vice president supported bail funds for people who burned a police station. And finally, he's clearly experiencing age-related dementia, slurs entire paragraphs, and has to be led around by the elbow on and off stage or else bounces off walls like a Roomba. Nice comparison. Yeah, I mean, this paragraph right here is a very quick encapsulation of just everything that's happened with Biden. I'm sure there's more, but I mean, if anybody is telling you like, oh, I'm voting for Biden, I mean, I'd say just go ahead and read this and tell them like, this is what you're voting for. This is the record that you're voting for. So we could go on, yet despite the obvious, we've been stuck in an endless loop of insulting news coverage lecturing Americans about why the economy is really not that bad. Seriously, this topic has become a media obsession in the last several months. Chris Cillizza, an otherwise earnest former CNN personality whose career largely rests on his total inability to reject even the most tendentious DC groupthink, is out there boldly informing the apparently confused public that they're just flat out wrong to romanticize the Trump years. And I guess this is what Chris Cillizza wrote. He said, a number that stunned me in the New York Times Siena poll is that 42% of people said that the years Donald Trump was president were mostly good for America. Just 33% said they were mostly bad. And those people probably all have TDS because everybody should be falling more in that 42%, and that should be a much higher number. So this speaks to the power of nostalgia and how we as humans tend to remember the good stuff and block out the bad. Says, alternatively, maybe those same voters recall that Trump was the first president since Jimmy Carter not to start any new foreign wars. Perhaps they also have a vivid memory of the fact that last year a dozen eggs cost 90% more than they did when Trump was president. If the media are still capable or incapable of seeing this disconnect, it's only helping Trump. Biden hasn't led in the polls in over 6 months. Opinions have hardened, and if Biden wants to win the election, he has to radically change the narrative around his presidency, not rely on the establishment to gaslight voters by telling them not to believe their bank statements and the constant barrage of foreign explosions on the news. Out in the real world, it's genuinely not difficult to see why voters look around, see the whole world is on fire, and think that going back to the Trump years and whatever problems existed then would still be a welcome respite from the current chaos. Brilliant article, I must say. That is it. But yeah, like I said a moment ago, this paragraph here starts with anyway, okay, it ends with Roomba. This, again, if anybody that you know of is like, I'm voting for Biden, just read this off to them. Tell them to be quiet while you read the whole damn thing, and then say, like, again, this is what you're voting for here, and this is the beginning. Okay, this isn't even everything. So you just should really be asking, like, how could you possibly vote for this? And if they say, well, Trump, just be like, no. We're not talking about Trump. Like, this is what you're voting to continue. So why would you keep doing this? I don't understand. But I'd like to know if you guys think there's anything else that should be added to this paragraph. So comment about that below. But in any case, I am done with this. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.